Hello everyone, Adrian here. Today I'm going to try a recipe working with a very inexpensive ingredient that I've cooked with a little bit, but I'm still in the process of learning. This is called TVP. This particular brand is Bob's Red Mill, but it's actually available from several other suppliers as well. And it's been around for ages, and it is quite inexpensive. And I'm going to make meatballs, and everything else in this recipe is quite reasonably priced, common items. This might be the only thing that people might not be immediately familiar with. My understanding of what TVP is, it stands for textured vegetable protein, first of all. But it is when they take soybeans and they make soybean oil, which is an extremely common product, what's left is a very high protein, very low fat, obviously, because they've pulled the fat out of it, soy product. And that's something that they put in a format that can be used for other foods. It is almost a byproduct of a really common manufacturing product. So that's why it is generally quite reasonably priced. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to be following a recipe that I found online from Sarah's Vegan Kitchen. It is for easy TVP meatballs. Here's what TVP looks like out of the package. It is dried crumbles, and it needs to be rehydrated. That's a standard part of the process. So to 1 cup of TVP, we are going to add 7/8 of a cup of vegetable broth, which is brought to boiling first, and then I'm going to add it and let it sit for about 10 minutes so that it reconstitutes. All right, so now that it's rehydrated, as you can see, it has a look very much in the vein of like a ground beef. So now we start to add the rest of our ingredients, and it's really simple from here. All the rest of the ingredients just get thrown in and mixed together. So our ingredients are, I've got a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder. It calls for 2 teaspoons of an Italian seasoning blend. I don't normally keep that blend around, but I've got all of the ingredients. So I added some basil, oregano, parsley, and a bit of celery seed. I added 1 tablespoon of vegan Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and then I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of flour, and I'm going to use a whole wheat flour. And then along with salt and black pepper, that's all of the ingredients. We're going to blend this up and turn it into balls. All right, so now I start forming the balls. It's a pretty simple process here, and actually this has got a nice way of sticking together, so everything is coming together nicely. I'm not going to be able to do this very well with just one hand, but you get the idea. So I'm going to make this whole batch here into balls, and then we're going to go on to the next step. The recipe actually gives you the option of baking it or pan frying it, and I am going to pan fry. So here we are. I came up with 17. That recipe made 17, and these are maybe about 1.5 inches diameter. A little bit messy to to roll them into balls, but it was not too bad. And now I have the oil in the pan. I'm going to pan fry these so we get a nice finish on them. So these are my pan-fried Tvp meatballs, and as you can see, I lost a couple. if you're doing your quick count there, and that was something that I guess I learned pretty quickly, is that if you try to roll them around in the pan too fast, they're too soft and they just kind of break apart, and then you've got kind of the crumbles all over the pan and they don't stay in the ball form. So at least for that initial phase, just leave them frying in the pan for just a little bit so they're cooking a little bit and they hold together better when you do try to move them around. So I'm going to do with this, I'm going to put this with a classic preparation of pasta with a red sauce, and this is something you could do like a meatball sandwich. I was also thinking that I could switch up the seasoning a little bit, and I could put it with a gravy and make it into like a Swedish meatball type thing. But in the meantime, I think I'm pretty happy with what I've got here. Well, here is my final product. We've got the meatballs and serving with the pasta and pasta sauce of choice, of course, and a little bit of vegan Parmesan on top. So this, I think, is going to be really delicious, and I'm really pleased with this recipe. Looking forward to trying some variations on a theme here. Let me know if you give this a try, if you serve it this way, or if you try some other variations on the recipe. Here I am on day 2 of this. I took my leftover meatballs that I didn't eat yesterday, and I did a meatball sandwich. So this is obviously meant to be used in all of the ways that you would use a regular Italian style meatball. So I did have some thoughts though. I think this recipe can be improved upon. So I'm going to try something different for the future. If you notice, this recipe is extremely low in fat. Aside from the oil that I used in the pan frying, there really isn't anything with any significant oil content aside from that. And I think, frankly, the taste suffers a little bit from that. I mean, if that's your goal in eating, is to have an extremely low-fat diet, then maybe that's ideal. But it's not particularly the first thing on my list, so I think that if I can improve the taste by increasing the fat content in the future, I'm going to try some different things to do that. So, just some second round thoughts on these meatballs. They are good, but I think they can be improved. So that's something for a future video. So thank you again for following me. Please hit like if you liked it. If someone else would enjoy this, then please share, and also subscribe to my channel. Thanks. Bye.